After the defeat, my corpse was flayed and dried, hung upon the city gate. The princess I guarded with my life trampled my flesh and blood to become the new emperor's empress. How could the petty grudge of a fallen nation stand in the way of her heart set on men? When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day before she stole my battle plans. On the day the city fell, I died in the Zhaoyang palace. When Jiang Mingjing led the enemy forces, I stood guard before the hall, spear in hand, my armor caked with sand and blood. He sat atop his horse, his gaze contemptuous. "Where is Princess Rugia?" he demanded. I clenched my teeth, refusing to speak. The imperial city had fallen. The young emperor vanished. The only one I could protect was Princess Rugia. Long before the enemy assaulted the city, I had arranged for my personal guards to escort the princess out of the palace. I secured her a new identity, ensuring she could live in obscurity, safe from Jiang Mingjing's humiliation. Before leaving the palace, Princess Rugia wept like rain. She clung tightly to me, crying over her mistake of inviting wolves into the house, crying over her failure to recognize true character. Though my body was covered in wounds, I endured the pain to comfort her. "Princess, do not fear. Your servant will guard you until the very end." I died at 23, my heart pierced by 1,000 arrows. Jiang Mingjing seized my corpse, flayed my skin, and hung it to dry on the city ramparts as a warning. Though my body perished, my spirit remained. I witnessed Rugia return to the palace for reasons unknown. Sword raised, she confronted Jiang Mingjing, declaring she would never see him again in this lifetime. Later, she nestled in Jiang Mingjing's embrace, weeping like a pear blossom drenched in rain. Tender and pitiable, Jiang Mingjing gripped her waist, kissing her with abandon. He said, "If only the princess would yield, I'd even let you be empress." I thought 10 years of warfare had long desensitized me to partings and the fickleness of human hearts. Yet witnessing these scenes pierced me deeper than 1,000 arrows. The princess we rescued from mountains of corpses and seas of blood now treads upon the bones of countless soldiers to become the new emperor's empress. How utterly laughable! When I opened my eyes, I found myself in the Zhaoyang palace. This was the 3rd day since my rebirth. Rugia gently swayed my hand, cooing sweetly, "Sister Xiao Ku, just grant me this one favor." Gazing at her exquisite features, I felt suddenly dazed. Princess Rugia was the late emperor's only daughter, the elder sister of the current young emperor. She had been cherished since childhood, the center of everyone's adoration. We were old friends. This time, she summoned me to the palace, saying she wished to stay at the general's residence for a while. I replied, honored by the princess's favor. "Xiao Kun naturally welcomes you." Rugia beamed with delight. I lifted my teacup, concealing the mocking smile at my lips. On her 2nd day at the general's residence, Rugia stole the fake defense map from my study. When Yi Ling returned to report, her eyes brimmed with confusion. How could a princess come to the general's residence and become a thief? I turned a page in my book. Perhaps she loves men too much. In her previous life, Rugia had done the same thing. She stole the Great Yan's military deployment map just to curry favor with that cold-hearted enemy hostage prince, hoping to coax a few more words from him, a few more smiles. And I only learned all this just before I died. At that moment, Jiang Mingjing's boot crushed my finger. He said, without Rugia personally presenting the battle plans, "How could I have won so easily?" 4 years ago, the Liao kingdom was defeated. Jiang Mingjing arrived in Great Yan as a hostage from Liao, utterly alone and in disarray. Ruo Jia fell head over heels for him the moment she saw him. She served him tea, washed his clothes, cooked his meals, even considered marrying the enemy hostage despite her royal status. Ruo Jia, nurtured by the people, wept until her eyes were bloodshot. "I don't care about being a princess. All I want in this life is Jiang Mingjing. As I leafed through the secret letter the shadow guards had retrieved from Jiang Mingjing's palace, I asked Yi Ling, "What's your take on the current situation in Great Yen?" Yi Ling pondered for a moment. The emperor is young and frail. All court affairs are managed by Chancellor Pei, who wields near absolute power. He lowered his voice. Rumors are spreading throughout the court that Chancellor Pei intends to emulate the previous dynasty, using the emperor as a figurehead to command the feudal lords. The current emperor, Yan Zhao, is only 15, frail and sickly since childhood. He ascended the throne at 10, a move Minister Pei pushed through despite controversy, personally installing him. Yet at the end of my past life, it was also Minister Pei who colluded with the Liao kingdom, forging an imperial edict to lure me away from the capital. He then led the ministers in surrendering to Jiang Mingjing. Human hearts are fickle. When I went to see Minister Pei, he was reviewing memorials. I cut straight to the point. "Chancellor Pei, do you wish to seize the throne?" He sipped his tea, his tone mild. "Such treasonous words, General. You must not speak them again." I handed him the secret letter. This was personally delivered to me by Jiang Mingjing. Compared to Chancellor Pei's influence in court, Jiang Mingjing seemed far more interested in my black armor army. As he read the letter, his expression darkened. His fingers tapped lightly on the desk. His voice unreadable. "What do you mean, General?" I was concise. "I do not trust Jiang Mingjing. Shao Ku offers to collaborate with you, Lord Pei, with the entire Black Armor Army, to assist you in establishing a new dynasty." I placed the military token on the table. "This is my pledge of sincerity." Chancellor Pei listened silently, uttering not a word. I finished my cup of tea, gathered the military token, and prepared to leave. Just as I stepped over the threshold, he suddenly called out, "General, please stay." I turned, raised an eyebrow, and smiled at him. "Chancellor Pei, your noble virtue." This outcome surprised me not at all. A powerless hostage from an enemy state versus a general commanding vast armies, a man as shrewd as Minister Pei knew exactly which side to choose. By the time I returned to my residence, heavy snow had fallen. In my past life, the young Emperor Yan Zhao died on a snowy night. Yan Zhao trusted me and Minister Pei implicitly, even as our achievements overshadowed his own. Court rumors branded Minister Pei and Sister Shao as villains. "I believe you wouldn't," he said earnestly. "I trust you won't." On the day Yan Zhao died, he struggled desperately. But when Minister Pei came and forced poisoned wine down his throat, he stopped moving. I cannot fathom the depth of his despair. I can understand Chancellor Pei's political calculations, but I cannot forgive him for personally ending the young emperor's life. I gently crushed the snowflake in my hand and turned to instruct Yi Ling, "Have someone keep watch on him." Yan Zhao's illness grew increasingly severe. The entire Imperial Medical Academy gathered in the Hall of Cultivating the Heart, debating fervently for days, yet remained helpless. As Yan Zhao slipped into unconsciousness, Chancellor Pei seized more power. He managed state affairs in the emperor's stead, even discussing policies and reforms with influential ministers, subtly positioning himself to take the throne. On the day Prime Minister Pei forced the emperor's abdication, a fierce blizzard raged. Standing atop the steps with the imperial seal in hand, his presence radiated overwhelming authority. A nation cannot endure a single day without its sovereign. Today, this minister shall act as the embodiment of heaven's will, taking the reins of the empire in the emperor's stead. Princess Rugia, held down by his personal guards, knelt on the ground, weeping like a delicate flower in the rain. A chorus of curses filled the hall. Chancellor Pei stood haughtily. "The current sovereign is incompetent. The Great Yan's fate is exhausted. Why should those with ambition not seize it for themselves? My personal guards now control the entire palace. I advise you all to cease your futile resistance. The deputy minister of rights trembled as he pointed at Pei's nose and shouted, "You heartless dog. This is rebellion." Chancellor Pei turned away. Not even glancing at him. "Guards. Drag this babbling old fool away." No one responded. Startled, Chancellor Pei shouted toward the hall's entrance, "Guards. Where are my black armor guards?" A sword sliced through the air, pressing against his throat. I stood in full armor. Expression impassive. "Your black armor guards?" With that, I flicked his official cap away with a single stroke, slicing off the top of his hair. "The troops I've commanded for 5 years, how have they become yours?" Pei Xiang fell backward in terror. Panic etched across his face. Yan Zhao entered, escorted by the Imperial guards. Realizing his fate was sealed, Pei knelt and bowed his head repeatedly, "Your Majesty." I was momentarily blinded by ambition. "Please forgive me." The young emperor listened silently, saying nothing. Just as everyone thought he would pardon his mentor, Yan Zhao suddenly snatched the guard's sword. With a swift stroke, he cleanly severed Pei Xiang's head. Blood splattered across the young emperor's face. Then, holding the still dripping blade, he walked step by step toward me, his dark pupils fixed on me, then suddenly cracked open in a smile, like ice shattering. "Sister Xiao. It's good you're here this time." Though Chancellor Pei was dead, the memorials accusing him did not cease. More and more incriminating evidence was presented. I also handed over his secret correspondence with Jiang Mingjing to Yan Zhao. Enraged, Yan Zhao ordered Jiang Mingjing placed under house arrest. When I saw Rugia, she was kneeling before the palace gates, pleading for Jiang Mingjing's life. In the bitter cold, the delicate princess choked out each word, "I beg your majesty to spare Jiang Mingjing's life." With every sentence, she bowed her head, her tear-filled voice stirring pity. As I passed by her, she grabbed the hem of my robe. I looked down to see Rugia's eyes reddened. "General Xiao, I beg you, please plead with His Majesty on his behalf." I asked her, "Princess, do you know what Jiang Mingjing has done?" Rugia froze. "You don't know?" I said. "Then this general shall tell you." I crouched down, gazing at the princess's innocent face. He secretly corresponded with Chancellor Pei, plotting from within to overthrow the throne, forcing the palace into rebellion. Once successful, Jiang Mingjing would lead enemy forces to attack our city. War between the two nations would bring utter devastation, corpses littering the fields. And now, you, a princess supported by the people, bow before this traitor begging for mercy? How can you face the soldiers who died for the nation, wrapped in horsehide as their shrouds? Rugia stood frozen, tears falling unconsciously. "No. He wouldn't do such a thing." Her tears flowed more freely. "I only hope His Majesty will spare his life. He has nothing left but me. I don't want him to die." "Princess, is Jiang Mingjing's life truly more precious, more valuable than that of the soldiers of Great Yen?" I looked at the young girl kneeling before me, my heart growing increasingly bitter. She was innocent and pure, delicate and untouched. She was the most exalted woman in all of Great Yen, a delicate flower of privilege nurtured by overwhelming power. She could love someone with unwavering devotion, but she should not trample upon the bones of countless soldiers to pursue her passion with such reckless abandon. In a past life, after Jiang Mingjing ascended the throne, he executed the Xuanjiao army. Yi Ling, for offending the new sovereign, was sentenced to the gruesome punishment of having his bones scraped clean. Their blood pooled everywhere on the execution platform, nearly staining the entire execution ground. But what was Princess Rugia doing? She was in the star-plucking tower, specially built for her by Jiang Mingjing. They nestled together, watching fireworks fill the sky and shooting stars streak across it. This was the third time the young emperor summoned me to the palace. The flickering lamplight danced across the youth's face, casting shifting shadows that danced in his jet-black eyes. Suddenly, I felt he had matured considerably. Yan Zhao said. During these days of feigning illness, the memos have piled up so high I can't possibly review them all. He gently shook my hand. Sister Xiao, why not stay in the palace a while longer? Help me review all these memos. A sudden unease flashed through my heart. Yan Zhao seemed to read my thoughts. Sister Xiao, you are different from them. He gently took my hand. Even within the Yangxin Hall, where spring lingered year-round, his touch remained icy cold. The youth gazed directly at me, his eyes clear and unwavering. No matter what happens in this world, my feelings for you will never change. My reflection was clearly mirrored in his dark eyes, as if I were the only thing that existed. I asked, Your Majesty, have you encountered something troubling? He offered no reply, only shifting his gaze to the window, his eyes heavy with an unshakable melancholy. Following his look, I saw snow swirling down in a thick blanket across the sky. Later, at the palace banquet, Yan Zhao bestowed a marriage decree upon Rujia. The suitor was the current top scholar. Rujia refused. She declared she and Jiang Mingjing had already consummated their relationship, vowing to marry no one but him for the rest of her life. She knelt for a long time, her tears falling like rain. The banquet hall fell deathly silent, so quiet you could hear the clinking of wine cups. Yan Zhao declared, Since that is the case, let us grant our imperial sister's wish. Rujia was overcome with joy. Thank you, Your Majesty, for this marriage decree. She prostrated herself in gratitude, her delicate form lying flat upon the palace floor. She remained utterly oblivious to the scornful, contemptuous glances cast upon her by the capital's aristocratic families. I set down my wine cup and glanced at Yan Zhao. His gaze met mine midair. Amidst the clamor, the young emperor raised his index finger to his lips, signaling silence. Ruo Jia and Jiang Mingjing's wedding was set for 3 months hence. The Liao kingdom, seeking to retrieve their hostage through this marriage, dispatched envoys offering to cede territory and pay tribute. Yan Zhao agreed to all terms. News reached the camp. The Jurchen tribe had launched an assault on Ningyang City in the northern frontier. With few troops defending it, the city stood on the brink of falling. Yan Zhao ordered me to lead reinforcements and hold Ningyang at all costs. 3 days later, I led the Black Armor army to Ningyang. The Jurchen, having traveled far, were already exhausted. Capturing Ningyang had drained their strength, leaving them spent. The Black Armor army launched a fierce assault, forcing the Jurchen to abandon the city and retreat 300 li. The day Fu Yunshu came to find me was the first day of spring. I pushed open the window lattice. In the sunlight, a youth clad in black robes scaled the wall. The visitor stood before my window. Xiao Ku. It's been a long time. I raised my hand to close the window, but he reached out and blocked it. Fu Yunshu said, With the turmoil in Ningyang, I knew you would come. Years had passed since he inherited the title of Crown Prince and departed for the northern frontier. The winds of the north carried a bone-chilling cold, adding to his already blade-like sharpness. Xiao Ku, he said, I am preparing to lead my troops into the capital. Fu Yunshu was the crown prince of the northern frontier. His house had ruled over the northern lands for generations, commanding its military might. The late emperor, wary of their power, had decreed they could only enter the capital with imperial summons. You intend to rebel? I asked. Fu Yunshu smiled indifferently. Yan Zhao is incompetent. I merely seek to reclaim what rightfully belongs to the northern frontier house. He lifted his eyes to meet mine. We've known each other long enough. You must understand my intentions. On the day I ascend the throne, I pledge the empire as my dowry. I offer you the honor of being my equal as empress. I refused without hesitation. Using my military power to pave your path? I might as well seize the throne myself. Fu Yunshu laughed. But you are a woman. I retorted, what of it? Before I led 20,000 troops to a decisive victory against a 150,000-strong enemy army. No one imagined Great Yan would ever have a female general. I never liked Fu Yunshu. In my past life, when Jiang Mingjing's forces besieged the city, before its fall, I sent Fu Yunshu 10 urgent secret dispatches pleading for aid, begging him to lead his troops to our defense. Yet he replied with only one sentence. What concern is the Great Yan Empire to my northern frontier prince's mansion? On the day I departed, Fu Yunshu came to see me off. Shao Ku, he said. Were your words that day true or false? I smiled. Neither confirming nor denying, true or false. Shao Ku will never again surrender the Great Yan Empire to others. I swung onto my horse. I journey alone through 1,000 mountains. The crown prince need not see me off further. Before the words had fully left my mouth, I spurred my horse away, never looking back. I returned to the capital with many women. When the city fell, they were captured by the Jurchen. Upon returning home, their husbands and families refused to accept them, deeming them defiled and unclean. I settled them in the embroidery workshop, where they could earn their keep by selling their handiwork. I told them, a woman's virtue lies not beneath her silk robes. It is this world that is filthy, never them. Yan Zhao has entrusted me with most state affairs. Whether disaster relief fundraising or frontier campaigns, I handle them entirely without his interference. With a flick of my finger, I can shift the winds and clouds. A single word becomes an edict, echoing across the realm. The nation's mountains and rivers rest within my vermilion brush. He remains the master of the realm, yet the one who truly commands its destiny. That is me. I ask you, Ling, if I choose a path that draws the scorn of all, would you walk it with me? Having served me for 5 years, he understood the depth of my words. Without hesitation, he knelt and bowed. This subordinate vows undying loyalty to the general. I smiled as I helped him rise. None knows me better than Yi Ling. Later, Yi Ling shared a curious piece of news with me. He said the young lady from the Duke of Qing's household had become a completely different person after her fall into the water. I continued painting absent-mindedly. Is that true? She used to be rather dull, but after the accident, she became remarkably clever, composing poetry, matching couplets, you name it. I hear she even established a school for young ladies. The phoenix I was painting suddenly paused on its branch. Beneath the Paulownia tree lay vast landscapes. The realm as picturesque as a painting. The next day, I met that very Miss Song Qingyue of the Duke of Qing's household. In the Great Yan of that time, young men from prominent families attended specialized private academies or tutors. Wealthier households would hire distinguished scholars to teach at home, imparting knowledge and resolving doubts. Yet not a single private academy was established for women. Miss Song Qinyue's Yongshu Hall was different. Regardless of age or background, any girl eager to learn was welcomed. The hall was divided into 2 sections, one filled with adolescent girls learning characters from their teacher, the other a martial arts hall. She sought me out this time to borrow several skilled soldiers to teach the girls martial arts. Song Qingyue mentioned that once the school grew larger, she planned to take in homeless beggars and orphaned girls, providing them with 3 meals a day. We're so short-staffed. Song Qingyue murmured softly. Even 996 work schedules have people lining up for them. How come I can't recruit anyone with such good conditions? Though I didn't understand some of her terms, I seized the moment to mention the women I'd taken in from Ningyang. Song Qingyue agreed immediately. Her voice softened. Life is truly hard for women. In these difficult times, I'll help where I can. Her gaze drifted toward the rhythmic sound of reading, her eyes brimming with hope. Perhaps someday, women too can enter the court, become officials, and even be infeffed as marquises or appointed as ministers. She added, just like General Shao. I smiled and took a sip of tea. Perhaps one day, women will also usher in a golden age. Song Qingyue looked up at me abruptly. her eyes brimming with unexpected delight. She raised her teacup in salute. Qingyue awaits with bated breath. The world holds all manner of people. Not every maiden yearns only for delicacies, jade plates, and cherry blossoms. Some use their modest strength to illuminate the pitch-black night sky. Others scheme for the empire and the world, awaiting the blue bird bearing a breeze. On the day Rongjia and Jiang Mingjing wed, the scene was magnificent beyond measure. The entire imperial city was adorned with 10 miles of red bridal finery, stretching all the way to Chang'an Street. At that moment, Yi Ling and I were playing chess, each holding a piece. Our moves crisscrossed the board. He said, "Jiang Mingjing has made his move." Jiang Mingjing's personal guards had arrived in Great Yan a month prior. Now, the imperial city was surrounded by Liao troops. They had seized control of the western gate. Once the fireworks lit the sky, they would storm the palace walls. The game's outcome was clear. The black pieces had seized a sliver of hope. After staring at the board for a long moment, I laughed and overturned it. Lead the Xuanjia army into the palace. When I reached the imperial palace, fireworks filled the sky. The two armies faced off, poised for battle. Jiang Mingjing sat atop his steed, expression cold and detached. Ruo Jia crawled step by step toward Jiang Mingjing. Her voice choked with emotion. "Brother Mingjing, I won't marry you. I won't force you anymore. Please don't do this." She reached out to grasp his robe, but he pulled back on the reins, retreating a step, his eyes cold and unyielding. "The Great Yan's fate is sealed. Surrender now while you still can." Jiang Mingjing remained unaware that the deployment map in his hands was a forgery, naively believing victory was assured. Suddenly, countless crossbowmen surged from the rooftops. Troops poured in through the doors, encircling Jiang Mingjing's forces completely. Doubt flickered across Jiang Mingjing's face. "I ride upon a mighty steed, my spear gleaming with icy light. You think you can seize the Great Yan throne with a fake deployment map and 50,000 elite troops? Jiang Mingjing, you are utterly foolish." Jiang Mingjing's expression changed abruptly. He raised his sword, pointing it at Rujia. "You deceived me." Ro Jiao looked at him in panic, her face blank with confusion. The faint sounds of battle echoed from outside the palace. Led by Yi Ling, the Black Armor army swept through the Liao forces along the route, their momentum unstoppable. The Liao troops were utterly no match for them. Any desperate resistance was futile. Jiang Mingjing realized the battle was lost. He attempted to break through the encirclement under cover, aiming to be the first to escape the city. I had anticipated this move. At my command, dozens of arrows flew toward him. This time, he had no escape. When Jiang Mingjing was captured, he was covered in blood, his eyes filled with panic. Just as I was about to order his execution, Rujia suddenly rushed forward, placing herself before him. She drew a dagger from her sleeve and pressed it to her own throat. Her eyes blurred with tears. "Don't kill him. Whoever dares to kill him, I will die." Rujia's words were cut short. A spear had already pierced Jiang Mingjing's heart. As the spear was pulled out, blood splattered across my face. I watched Jiang Mingjing's body slowly collapse, then lifted my head to offer a smile to Princess Rujia, her face frozen in terror. "Princess, I urge you to find peace in this sorrow." On her wedding day, her groom plotted rebellion. Overnight, Princess Rujia became the laughingstock of Great Yan, confined within the palace walls. Emperor Yan Zhao had Jiang Mingjing's corpse brought to her chambers, forcing her to gaze upon her dead lover daily. Within half a year, Rujia had begun to lose her mind. Day after day, she screamed for me to pay for his death with my own. I had no interest in meddling in their broken affairs anymore. With the arrival of the first heavy snow, the plague in Liangzhou grew increasingly severe. I was swamped processing the memorials submitted to me daily. Song Qingyue had already invited me to meet her at the Yingshu Hall several times. She told me she wished to go to Liangzhou. I paused before replying, the plague rages in Liangzhou, having already spread to neighboring prefectures. Your journey there is fraught with peril. Song Qingyue said she possessed experience in combating epidemics and asked me not to worry. Those ministers, far removed in the imperial capital, know nothing of the world's complexities. Only by immersing oneself in the lives of the common people can one truly understand what they truly desire. I hope their lives will improve, even just a little, because of my arrival. On the day Song Qingyue departed, I went to see her off. She would travel to Liangzhou with the imperial envoy, besides 100 elite soldiers. I also dispatched Yi Ling to escort and protect her. Her eyes shone brightly. When Qingyue returns, that will be the moment the general wins the people's hearts. A breeze stirred before the city gates, gently tossing the maiden's long hair and rustling my robes. I knew the path I was walking, yet I would walk it still, even amidst 1,000 hardships, even amidst the scorn of 10,000. That day, Yan Zhao brought a girl back from the Yao courtyard. Some said she was Lu Wangshu, the only daughter of the Marquis of Dingbei. The Marquis had been convicted of treason in his youth. The men were exiled 3,000 li, while the women were all demoted to serve as slaves in the Yao courtyard. Rumor had it Yan Zhao had met her when she was in her humble days. Now he treated her like a precious jewel, even intending to make her his consort. When the news reached me, I paid it no mind at all. I was reading the letter sent by Song Qingyue. The letter stated that upon arriving in Liangzhou, she ordered Yi Ling to strictly guard the border passes, effectively blocking the plague spread to other regions at its source. Later, she had the bodies of the deceased cremated, had mugwort burned throughout the city, and improved upon the formula provided by the Imperial Medical Academy, creating a new medicine that was distributed everywhere. After 3 months of such efforts, the plague finally began to stabilize. Qingyue stressed the critical importance of post-disaster reconstruction. She would build homes for the victims in my name, establish medical clinics, and provide free medical care and medicine. I read her letter over and over, then carefully tucked it away in a brocade box. Already commanding 100,000 troops, I now had the people's support. The imperial throne was within my grasp. On the day of the spring equinox, Emperor Yan Zhao issued an imperial decree. He intended to crown Lu Wangshu as empress. Ignoring his minister's objections, his expression turned fierce. I am the son of heaven. Whoever dares to question this decree shall be executed without mercy. Yet this was merely the beginning. Yan Zhao undertook grand construction projects for Lu Wangshu, restoring the former Dingbei Marquis mansion and building the peerless Guanshu Palace for her. He even overturned the Dingbei Marquis' conviction himself, all to win a smile from his beloved. Overnight, the young emperor executed numerous virtuous ministers implicated in the Dingbei Marquis case. Their families were exiled 3,000 li, barred from returning to the capital for 3 generations. Court elders could not stomach Emperor Yan Zhao's conduct. An aged minister protested to the death, his blood splattering the stone steps. Yet the emperor remained preoccupied with bantering and music with the empress. The harp's melody drifted from the hall of cultivating the heart, lingering in the air, its echoes refusing to fade. Later, Yan Zhao summoned me to the palace. He declared the northern frontier unstable and ordered me to lead the Black Armor Army to quell the unrest, forbidding my return to the capital without imperial decree. After I received the edict and expressed my gratitude, he suddenly called me back. Sister Xiao. When I turned, I saw the candlelight dancing in the youth's eyes, as if veiled by mist. He said, "The mountains are high and the waters are far. Take care on your journey." Court rumors claimed that Xiao Ku, the great Yan female general, had offended the emperor. Along with the Black Armor Army, she was exiled to the northern wilderness, forbidden to return to the capital without imperial summons. On the day I left the capital, the people lined the streets to see me off. chanting my name all the way. It felt as though I were returning in triumph. I had fought for Great Yan through life and death battles. Years of war and conquest. Earning glorious military achievements. The imperial family's betrayal of those who served them, their cold and ruthless nature, was plain for all to see. This was the true beginning of the young emperor's loss of the people's trust. On the day I arrived in the northern wilderness, I met Yi Ling. Under the bright moonlight, he knelt before me in salute. Whatever choice the general makes, even if my bones lie buried in the green hills, I shall follow you for life. Gazing into the youth's solemn eyes, I suddenly recalled scenes from my past life. When the new emperor ascended the throne, Yi Ling refused to surrender and was sentenced to the bone-scraping punishment. The torture lasted 3 hours. Yet Yi Ling gritted his teeth and uttered not a sound. As he drew his last breath, he sighed, "To die for the nation on the battlefield is enough, why need my body be wrapped in horsehide for return?" I turned to gaze upon the tens of thousands of black-armored soldiers and the vast expanse of the northern desert. I murmured softly, "I will not let you be buried in these barren hills again. This time, I will bring you home." Though I was in the northern wilderness, news from the capital still reached me constantly. Yan Zhao distrusted loyal ministers, favoring treacherous courtiers instead. His moods were unpredictable, and many were publicly executed on trumped-up charges. The court was thrown into turmoil, hearts filled with dread. The realm teemed with unrest, poised to erupt at any moment. 3 months later, Fu Yunshu's forces swept south from the northern frontier, advancing relentlessly with overwhelming momentum. Once, I alone led the Great Yan's steel-clad armies into battle. Now, with treacherous ministers dominating the court, not a single man would fight for him. In mere months, the Great Yan lost 6 capital cities. Frontier passes fell one after another, leaving the people in utter despair. That day, Yi Ling returned on horseback, rushing to see me. "General," he said, "the capital has fallen." I turned to look. Outside the window, dawn was breaking, the eastern sky turning pale. When 2 enemies fight, the third gains the advantage. The moment I had waited for had finally arrived. Mounted on my steed, spear in hand, my voice solemn and resolute, I commanded, "Soldiers, follow me into battle." Our sights are set on the imperial capital. The black armor army knelt in unison, their voices booming, "We obey your command, General." Advancing from the northern deserts, the black armor army swept through the passes like a whirlwind, reclaiming cities and fortresses along their path toward the capital. In the past, I led 20,000 troops against 150,000 foes. Now, a mere Fu Yunshu? I have never regarded him as a threat. Fu Yunshu's northern frontier army, long untested in battle, was caught off guard by such a formidable foe. They were nearly routed, on the verge of abandoning their city. After days of fierce combat, the outcome was decided. The Black Armor Army under my command reclaimed the capital, bringing continuous reports of victory. 100,000 northern frontier troops were routed, their remnants fleeing westward. The Black Armor Army pressed the advantage, pursuing and annihilating them completely. Thus, after nearly 3 months of campaigning, I drove out the enemy and reclaimed the ancient capital. The citizens of the capital cheered daily, chanting my name in celebration of this hard-won victory. The hearts of the people across the land now beat as one with mine. On the day I stormed the Great Yan Imperial Palace, heavy snow fell. I strode into the grand hall, spear in hand, to find Yan Zhao seated upon the dragon throne. He looked at me deeply. "Sister Xiao, why did you take so long?" He staggered down the jade steps, step by step, until he stood before me. I thought Sister Xiao didn't want to see me anymore. My spear rested against his neck, yet his eyes crinkled with laughter. In my past life, When sister died in battle, she held this very spear. My heart skipped a beat as I tightened my grip on the weapon. Yan Zhao smiled at me. Sister, I dream of you every night. He said, sometimes it's you being torn apart by 5 horses. Sometimes you being executed by Ling Qi. But most often it's you pierced by 1,000 arrows in our past life. Each time, sister dies before my eyes. I wanted to protect sister. Yet it always seemed sister was the one protecting me. He reached out to caress my face, his eyes brimming with indulgence. I've known all along that sister wanted to become emperor. I stared at him in disbelief, asking, so, you knew all along? Sister feigned collusion with Minister Pei to rebel, deliberately letting Rugia steal the military defense maps. She opened a school and a clinic with that 2-8 young lady from the Duke of Qing's household. The young man smiled gently. Sister, I knew everything. He leaned close, whispering in my ear like lovers sharing intimate whispers. The path my sister chose was destined to be despised and reviled. But I couldn't bear to let her go. He took my hand and thrust the long spear cleanly into his own body. I cannot bear to watch you die before my eyes. Time and time again. Yan Zhao blinked at me, tightening his grip on my hand as he thrust the spear deeper. The Emperor of Yan is mediocre and incompetent, deserving of everyone's wrath. After today, no one in the land will dare speak ill of you. He tried to smile, but the movement tore at his lungs, causing more blood to spill from his mouth. Through tear-blurred eyes, I saw him raise his hand to wipe my cornered tears. Sighing, I'm glad sister got her wish. When I stepped out of the grand hall, I held a blood-dripping sword in my hand. Amidst the towering palace halls, I turned back in a daze. All I could see was a sky filled with swirling snowflakes. Long ago, Yan Zhao also died on a day like this, with snow falling. As a child, Yan Zhao would always cling to my hand, whining that he didn't want to read the memorials anymore and wanted to go horseback riding with me instead. Later, as he gradually grew into an emperor with a cold gaze, he still trusted me completely, discussing state affairs with me without any guard. Reborn into this life, I vowed to protect the Yan dynasty and grant him a lifetime of peace. Yet it was I who ultimately led him into a position of injustice. A court official hurried over, bowed deeply, and cried out, "Your servant humbly welcomes the general's return." Instantly, all officials knelt with heads bowed, chanting in unison, "Your servants humbly welcome the general's return." In a daze, I heard my own indifferent voice. The criminal Yan Zhao has been executed. People imagine an empress ascending the throne must have carved her way through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Yet I did so with pure integrity, upright and honorable. I waged war for years, achieving glorious victories. Qing Yue, acting in my name, averted the plague, increased medical care, and distributed medicine, winning the hearts of the people. This time, I led the Black Armor Army to break through the encirclement, quell the rebellion, and execute the incompetent ruler. My ministers were thoroughly convinced. Thus, the great Yan ceased to exist. I ascended the throne in the capital, changing the nation's name to Qi. On the day of my enthronement, supported by the ceremonial officer, I stepped onto the jade staircase. One step at a time, looking down upon the 4 directions, I surveyed the realm with disdain. Court officials prostrated themselves in unison, chanting "Long live the Emperor," gazing upon the vast jade steps and the crows circling the palace halls. I felt a sudden pang of emotion. Turning, I looked up at the towering palace walls. When the first spring rain fell, Song Qingyue returned. I found her standing beneath a peach blossom tree. The blazing sun seemed to shine brighter upon her radiant form. I issued my first imperial decree after ascending the throne. I appointed Song Qingyue as chancellor, and it was only now that her extraordinary talents truly came to light. Court officials debated her concise and brilliant policy proposals, arguing until they were flushed and breathless. Soldiers incorporated the military formations and tactics she proposed into their campaigns, reaping significant rewards. She even sought to cross the vast oceans to trade with those beyond the seas. She spoke of firearms and cannons unseen in our lands, tools that could usher in an entirely new era. For many years thereafter, Song Qingyue and I worked hand in hand to implement reforms, opening trade routes. We challenged the aristocratic clans, reformed the imperial examinations, reduced taxes, encouraged agriculture and sericulture, and broadened avenues for public discourse. Throughout the Great Qi, schools for women were established, and a system of female officials was created. From then on, women could also participate in the imperial examinations, attain official ranks, be enfeoffed as marquises or appointed as ministers, and serve in the court. In the Hall of Mental Cultivation, I encountered the first female official. She wore a deep green official robe, her features clean-cut, subtly revealing a touch of heroic spirit. Holding documents in her hand, she reported official matters solemnly and earnestly. I asked her, "Which academy did you graduate from?" She respectfully knelt and bowed, answering with perfect decorum, "Your servant studied at the Hall of Verse, taught by the current Chancellor of Song." Later, I encountered more and more female officials. They stood in the court chamber clad in pristine official robes, serving alongside the entire court of civil and military officials. Their bearing was bold and dignified, neither humble nor arrogant. Thus began the era of women's flourishing in the Golden Age. Yi Ling told me he had taken on a young apprentice. The girl, clad in full military attire, wielded a crimson-plumed spear with remarkable grace. She said she too wished to become a female general like me, defending the homeland, riding into battle with steel and horses. Yi Ling tapped her head. "How dare you? You must address Her Majesty the Empress." I did not grow angry, only gazed at her long spear. Through the spear's length, I glimpsed the vast desert sands, the boundless snowfields, and the epic years of conquest. It wasn't just her, but countless women, once confined by convention. They languished in mismatched marriages. Now they step out of their chambers, reclaiming their true paths. No one would ever hurt her again, or tell her how to think, what to do, whom to love, or what to believe. She could walk proudly in the sunlight, living exactly as she wished, becoming anyone she desired to be. Many years later, when I was old and frail, unable to lift a spear, Song Qingyue and I supported each other as we climbed the city wall. My eyesight had grown dim, yet I could still see the Milky Way in the sky, forever brilliant and dazzling, like a tapestry of silk. Squinting, a thought suddenly struck me. Do you think the mediocre people of later generations will criticize us for being like a hen crowing at dawn? Song Qingyue replied, "They wouldn't know shit." Gazing at the vast landscape of the great Qi Empire before her, she laughed heartily. "We phoenixes soar beyond the clouds, how could mortals share our heart?" Her words filled me with such joy I laughed aloud and drained my cup in one gulp. This toast is not for the gods or Buddhas, but for the splendid era of red bridal robes we shared. Let future generations judge our merits and faults. Let history record our names. Let our legacy endure forever. I only seek pearls sinking, jade shattering into priceless fragments. I only seek 1,000 years of praise. 1,000,000 years of praise. The end.